I'm just telling the truth, and I don't understand what your problem is with me other than the fact that I am under your skin.
Blake Lively and Ryan have long been adored as one of Hollywood's favorite power couples, celebrated for their witty humor and undeniable chemistry. However, the spotlight has shifted from their playful social media exchanges to a much more serious situation off-screen. It all began with a major conflict on the set of a movie Blake was working on, which has now spiraled into a full-blown legal battle. Things have gotten so heated that Ryan, Blake's husband, has become embroiled in the debate as well. Candace Owens, a political analyst, has now entered the fight, escalating an already volatile scenario.
Ryan uses Taylor Swift's strategy of dropping Easter eggs all over social media, all over the Deadpool movie, all over the It Ends With Us credits, all over the Deadpool credits, to take all of these digs at Justin Baldoni. Again,
Candace Owens may not be a Hollywood celebrity, but she has built a reputation for herself with her outspoken views on politics and current events. Despite not being a part of the movie scene, Owens did not hesitate to share her thoughts on Blake and Ryan's turmoil, making her position known online. Interestingly, Owens has been backing Blake's co-star, Justin Baldoni, right from the start of this controversy. She even went as far as to imply that Ryan Reynolds might actually be the real villain in the whole situation, a pretty daring accusation against such a beloved star. These provocative remarks have certainly left many people both intrigued and a little shocked.
And that the villain in this entire story is not Blake Lively, it's not Justin Baldoni, but it is Ryan Reynolds.
It's not every day that a political journalist delves into Hollywood drama, making this situation even more intriguing. Why is Candace Owens so involved in this? So, what precisely did she say about Blake and Ryan? This film provides a thorough and impartial breakdown of the story, avoiding sensationalism and focusing on facts and perspectives. Let's delve in and figure out what's going on. Candace Owens has just called out Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for dragging her into a lawsuit, and things are getting out of control. Blake accused Candace of exposing the truth, which she obviously wanted to keep hidden. But Candace, who was always a step ahead, unearthed important material that they did not want the public to see. Blake is panicking right now.
Blake Lively was so awful to me when I've interviewed her that she made me want to reconsider my career.
While casually scrolling through the latest Hollywood gossip on February 26th, Candace's eyes widened in shock when she stumbled upon her own name in the court documents filed by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Surprisingly, she had absolutely nothing to do with the lawsuit. Instead of panicking, Candace seized the opportunity to poke fun at Blake, humorously calling it an early Christmas gift and joking that she could finally retire now. After all, when two A-list Hollywood stars drop your name in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, you know you've officially made an impact.
It's like, no, I'm just telling the truth, and I don't understand what your problem is with me other than the fact that I am under your skin.
Of course, the media caught up on this and went with the standard storyline, portraying Candace as the villain. But let's be honest, Candace Owens isn't some random person on the internet. She's notorious for calling out hypocrisy, which is exactly what led her to this scenario. Blake and Ryan were upset that someone was pulling apart their carefully built victim's story, so they attempted to make Candace appear terrible. But their case is riddled with discrepancies. What was the biggest error they made? I thought Candace Owens would back down. She is now in the forefront of their demise.
But I am. The public, jury, lawyers, both parties, I have to be able to make a decision on my own show, and I'm telling you that we are not accepting this.
Blake Lively's PR stunt took an unexpected turn, completely backfiring. Instead of painting Baldoni as the villain, it ended up making people turn against her. Viewers quickly saw past the act, realizing that this wasn't really about justice, it was about control. And when things started slipping out of her control, she made a bold and desperate move. She requested the court to seal off certain pieces of evidence. Judge Allen in New York responded by instructing both sides to propose a protective order. By March 10th, Blake's legal team submitted a request to keep specific documents and details confidential. This kind of request is pretty standard in high-profile cases. No one wants their private messages or financial information broadcasted. But Blake's lawyers pushed it even further. They didn't just want the usual level of protection. They demanded a special version with additional safeguards for third parties.
This case involves a number of high-profile individuals, including third parties. We intend to seek a protective order. there has been a significant amount of leaking to the media. We want to list all the parties from the beginning.
Here's where things become dicey. Blake's team requested an attorney's eyes only, AEO clause. This implies that not even Baldoni, the defendant in the $400 million lawsuit, will be able to access some of the evidence against him. Only the lawyers would have access, and the actual persons engaged in the case would not be able to see it. Their explanation was that it was to protect third parties, such as Taylor Swift, from harm caused by disclosing private messages.
Not accepting this, okay? I want the Taylor Swift text messages. I deserve the Taylor Swift text messages, okay? I've worked incredibly hard for the Taylor Swift text messages.
First and foremost, Taylor Swift has nothing to do with this case. Blake simply slipped her name in there to excuse suppressing evidence. Blake is comfortable sending private messages when it serves her. She gave the New York Times sensitive text messages, and now she's concerned about privacy. The hypocrisy is ridiculous.
You're despicable and a massive hypocrite. And so now you're complaining about privacy? Oh, this is such an important private matter. You were on Saturday Night Live letting your husband make a mockery of your whole thing.
Baldoni's lawyers promptly pointed this up. They claimed that Blake's goal was not to safeguard innocent people, but rather to control the information that the public saw. There is a significant distinction between a typical protection order and what Blake's team is asking for. She wants to pick and choose what is revealed, ensuring that only the facts that support her position are made public, while the negative aspects remain hidden. This is not about safeguarding third parties. It's about defending her own reputation, which is precisely why Candace Owens was dragged into this mess. She saw through the charade and pointed out the hypocrisy, which infuriated Blake and Ryan. Instead of ignoring her, they included her name in the lawsuit and attempted to make it appear that she was part of a concerted effort against them. They also included one of her tweets in their legal petition. That is what really set them off. They knew she was exposing the truth, and they couldn't take it.
I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaint, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint. Not under the influence of drugs, not under the influence of alcohol, but of the influence of proximity to Taylor Swift.
Blake's team went as far as grouping Candace with Perez Hilton, accusing her of collaborating with him to tarnish their image. Blake believed she could control the media, shape public opinion, and emerge as the innocent Hollywood victim. But instead, she ended up exposing her true colors. She strategically leaked private texts to ruin Baldoni's reputation, only to turn around and plead with the court to keep her own messages hidden. She portrayed herself as traumatized, all while her husband was out cracking jokes about the lawsuit. And when people like Candace started highlighting these glaring contradictions, Blake panicked and resorted to legal threats to shut them down.
There are 100 million reasons for these parties to leak information because the PR value is greater than complying with the court orders, end quote.
Candace's crime was simply speaking the truth. She did not leak private texts, fabricate evidence, or file a lawsuit seeking special treatment. All she did was tell the facts, which was enough to throw Blake and Ryan into complete meltdown mode. Candace did what she normally does. She pointed out hypocrisy, revealed lies, and thoroughly shredded those who attempted to muzzle her. She mocked the lawsuit on her program, pointing out how Blake and Ryan were attempting to twist facts to fit their own story.
And then after they put my tweet, they write, predictably, the media outlets picked up the same narrative. Okay, yeah, but that's what you did. Like, what am I guilty of here?
And that single tweet threw Blake's legal team into a frenzy. They weren't worried about the case itself. They were not concerned about new evidence. Their main concern was that Candace had figured them out. Instead of dismissing her, they included her tweet in their official legal petition. Consider what that means. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, two wealthy Hollywood celebrities with unlimited public relations and legal resources, were so pressured by a Candace Owens tweet that they had to bring it up in court. What was the crux of their argument? That Candace was circulating false allegations. Yes, Blake Lively, who released private text messages to the media, is now accusing Candace of disseminating disinformation. You cannot make this up.
Like a pit bull, okay? I'm on to you. I see what's happening. And you're just throwing me in here for trying to make people think that I'm somehow connected to Brian Freeman when I'm not. But it will be in the future, okay? That's my brother from another mother, and you're messing with my cousin, and I'm pregnant.
Blake's team also accused Candace and Perez Hilton of collaborating in a calculated media attack against her. In Blake's mind, there was no way people were simply calling out her behavior. It had to be part of some grand conspiracy. Candace, unsurprisingly, found this accusation hilarious. She flat out denied ever teaming up with Baldoni or his lawyer and couldn't help but mock the idea of being involved in some secret plot. Rather than getting defensive, she embraced the chaos, amused that she was now a character in this Hollywood drama. Blake and Ryan's attempt to intimidate her completely backfired. If anything, they just handed her even more material to roast them with.
Deserve the Taylor Swift text messages. Okay, I've worked incredibly hard for the Taylor Swift text messages. Years, okay? Okay, not years, but like everyone can see that I have made a real effort. And now that you have name checked me and I'm under your skin, I'm going to be there.
Candace Owens is now formally involved in the lawsuit drama, and she isn't backing down. Blake thought she could silence her, but all she did was increase her exposure. And with March 10th approaching, when the judge will decide whether Blake can keep her secrets hidden, things are about to get much crazier. Blake and Ryan tried to control the narrative, but Candace Owens blasted it all up, and now they have no idea what will happen next. The fallout has only barely begun. Candace is prepared to continue exposing every twist and turn, ensuring that the truth is out regardless of how hard Hollywood attempts to conceal it. And with social media already driving Blake and Ryan apart, there's no avoiding the mess they made. The struggle for truth is far from ended, and if they believed Candace would remain silent, they were dead wrong. This is only the beginning of the mayhem. Candace Owens is ensuring that everyone is aware of what is happening. Hollywood is scurrying, and for once, they do not have complete control over the story.
The most important part of the CIA's job is managing public relations.
Hollywood is in chaos, and for once, they're not the ones controlling the story. The media, usually eager to back Hollywood elites, is suddenly split down the middle. Some outlets are bending over backward to paint Candace Owens as a right-wing agitator who inserted herself into a lawsuit that supposedly has nothing to do with her. But here's the twist. Candace didn't invite herself into this mess. Blake and Ryan did that all by themselves, and the public isn't falling for the spin. Social media is on fire with memes, reactions, and independent journalists tearing apart every detail of this case. Clips from Candace's podcast, where she hilariously roasted the absurdity of being dragged into the lawsuit, have racked up millions of views. People can't stop laughing at how Blake and Ryan thought bringing up Candace would somehow help their case. In reality, it's only making folks wonder why they're so desperate to steer the narrative. Meanwhile, Baldoni's legal team is playing the chaos to their advantage. They're subtly highlighting the holes in Blake's claims, using Candace's public comments to show just how hard Blake and Ryan are working to sway public opinion. They don't even need Candace on their side. Her mere existence as a vocal critic is enough to expose the double standards in play. And just when things couldn't get messier, a new twist emerges. Old interviews and statements from Blake start making the rounds again. People quickly notice a pattern. Blake has a history of crafting victim stories that just so happen to line up with whatever project she's promoting. Some dig up interviews from years ago where she went on about privacy concerns, yet now she's the one leaking messages to the press. Others find past legal battles involving Ryan, revealing how he's flipped his stance on lawsuits and media coverage whenever it suited him. This isn't just a Hollywood drama anymore, it's a full-blown expose.
Same time, Blake is starting to get bad press, okay? They take her phone, and this is how, magically, Ryan and Blake end up with these text messages that they later dock.
All of this is adding fuel to the fire, and Candace has made it obvious that she is not going to let this story die anytime soon. She's embracing the chaos, tweeting sarcastically about how she's allegedly the brain driving Hollywood's legal problems. She even jokes that she should expect a Netflix documentary about her role in this case. Ryan, who is known for his snarky humor online, is uncharacteristically silent. His team is most certainly scrambling to figure out how to handle the public relations crisis that is unfolding around him. Blake, on the other hand, has doubled down. Her legal team issues a statement asserting that all they seek is a fair trial and that outsiders are twisting the facts. However, this simply makes matters worse, because if they wanted a fair trial, why were they so determined to conceal evidence?
And just to be clear, they weren't the first to do this. It was Blake Lively, it was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle. But guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle.
The court finally responds, but not in the way Blake had hoped. The judge refuses to immediately grant Blake's request for an attorney's eyes only protective order. Instead, he schedules a hearing to decide if such a high level of secrecy is really necessary. This development is a major setback for Blake's case, suggesting that there's a real possibility the public, or at least Baldoni, might get access to the evidence Blake's team has been desperate to keep hidden. Social media erupts instantly. Hashtags like #unseal. The truth and Blake exposed begin to trend rapidly. Legal experts quickly join the conversation, pointing out that while protective orders are common in high-profile cases, the level of secrecy Blake's team demanded was unusually extreme. Some even speculate that if the evidence truly posed a threat to Baldoni, his attorneys wouldn't be fighting so hard to make it public.
And realized that Blake Lively was not telling the truth and that it was going to be a very steep climb for them to explain why they misrepresented so many things in their initial filing. So
Candace, of course, seizes the opportunity. She publishes a recording from her podcast in which she anticipated the precise conclusion with the remark, "Oops." Someone's strategy seems to have backfired. Her engagement skyrockets, and even those who don't normally follow her start paying attention. Whether you love her or hate her, Candace Owens is clearly winning this round. Blake and Ryan's public relations staff is currently in full damage control mode. According to sources, Blake feels misled by media coverage of the case. The same media outlets that once portrayed her as Hollywood's sweetheart are now asking why she is working so hard to keep information buried. The story is changing, and not in her favor.
Said, given how actively the Lively parties have publicized and litigated Ms. Lively's claims in the media, we are surprised to now learn how vehemently she wants to prevent the public from accessing material and relevant evidence, to sometimes our freedoms being taken away, or sometimes to being enraged and targeting our rage towards someone like Justin Baldoni and maybe agreeing that we should sign in laws, I don't know.
Meanwhile, Baldoni's team is preparing for the next critical phase of the investigation. With the protective order hanging in the balance, they see a chance to demand openness. His attorneys quickly submit papers, saying that if Blake has nothing to hide, she should accept the complete release of all evidence. They understand that this move puts Blake's legal team in a precarious spot. They either battle to keep information under wraps, which makes them look suspicious, or they risk the evidence going public, potentially exposing contradictions in their claims. And just when it seems like things couldn't possibly get worse for Blake, another bombshell explodes. A former associate, someone who once worked closely with her PR team, decides to break their silence, anonymously, of course. In a tell-all interview with a gossip columnist, they reveal that Blake has been meticulously crafting her public image for years and knows exactly how to play the victim when it suits her. The anonymous source even hints that this lawsuit might not be about justice at all, but rather about controlling how Blake is perceived in the industry. This revelation throws everything into utter chaos. Suddenly, it's not just Blake's lawsuit that's under scrutiny, it's her entire brand. Is she genuinely a victim, or is she simply a master of media manipulation, playing the role flawlessly? Meanwhile, Candace is sitting back, watching the chaos unfold with a knowing smile. She doesn't need to lift a finger. Blake and Ryan's team seem to be digging themselves deeper with every desperate move they make. The public's already skeptical, and every attempt to spin the story just makes it worse for them. The court date is looming. The media frenzy isn't dying down, and Candace Owens is thriving. What started as a plan to silence her has turned into one of the most disastrous PR nightmares in Hollywood. And now all eyes are fixed on March 10th, eagerly waiting to see what unfolds next. Hollywood might be used to writing its own narratives, but this time, the script has been completely flipped. And for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, there's no easy way out of this mess. As the pressure mounts, new twists keep emerging, each one adding more fuel to the fire. Anonymous insiders continue to leak information, fueling suspicions that there's far more to this case than meets the eye. More former associates are stepping forward, some even suggesting that Blake's carefully crafted image is starting to crumble under scrutiny. Blake, who has long been adored as one of Hollywood's most genuine and relatable stars, is now realizing that her spotless reputation might not be as untouchable as she believed. For years, she's controlled her public persona effortlessly, but now the narrative is slipping from her grasp. She's portrayed herself as the innocent victim, but many are starting to wonder, is she really the wrong party, or just an expert at playing the role to perfection? Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds is handling the fallout in his own way, by staying almost completely silent. This is shockingly out of character for someone who built his brand on sarcasm, humor, and witty social media exchanges. But right now, there's nothing remotely funny about the situation he and Blake are entangled in. Insiders claim that behind closed doors, Ryan is furious. Not because he thinks Blake is right, but because their entire PR strategy has unraveled disastrously. What began as a seemingly foolproof plan to control the narrative has spiraled into a nightmare of epic proportions. The lawsuit itself is being overshadowed by the sheer number of inconsistencies in Blake's claims, questionable legal tactics, and the escalating public backlash. Instead of rallying behind her, the media is tearing her statements apart, questioning why someone who claims to cherish privacy would go to such extremes to silence others, while conveniently leaking information that paints her in a favorable light. And Candace Owens? She's capitalizing on every single moment. In her latest podcast episode, she didn't hold back, ripping into Blake and Ryan once again, pointing out that their frantic attempts to keep evidence sealed only make them look guiltier. She even laughed at the idea that a Hollywood A-lister and a former Gossip Girl star thought they could bully her into silence. Candace has always thrived on controversy, and now that millions of new eyes are watching, she's making the most of the opportunity. With the March 10th court date quickly approaching, the stakes have never been higher. If the judge rejects Blake's protection order, it might result in a flood of new information that could destroy her credibility. If the judge agrees with her, it may buy her some time, but the harm to her public image has already been done. In any case, Candace Owens and the internet are not going to let this story go away. Blake and Ryan believed they could control the narrative, but they misjudged one factor: the power of public perception in the digital era. Once the people start asking questions, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. And no matter how this lawsuit ends, one thing is crystal clear: Candace Owens has already won the PR war. For Blake and Ryan, this has become about far more than just a lawsuit. It's about survival, and as the public keeps digging, they might just discover that Hollywood's golden couple isn't as flawless as they seem. The storm is just getting started, and where it leads next is anyone's guess.